Riverside.
Welcome to Dance Talk with Joanne Carey, where the dance world connects, the conversations inspire, and where we are keeping them real. I'm your host, Joanne Carey, and today I'm joined with Joan Myers Brown. I have to just say, I am very honored to have Ms. Brown with me here today. I am not only honored, I have to say I'm a little starstruck. I'm super excited to have her here, and I have to say I'm really humbled to have this conversation with her. Growing up in the dance world, I grew up in New Jersey, so Philadelphia wasn't far from where I live. I heard about Philadanco, I heard about Ms. Brown, and I never thought I would be sitting here today having a conversation with her. So I am delighted to bring her here, to have all the listeners listen to her, to be inspired by her wisdom, and to have her just talk to us about her life, her inspiring life in dance, what she has done for the dance world and dance community, and to just have a great conversation with her. So thank you, Ms. Joan Myers Brown, for joining me on Dance.
Well, it's my pleasure. Were you in Mount Laurel, New Jersey?
No, but my cousins and aunt lived in Mount Laurel.
Yeah, Mount Laurel Ballet. A friend of mine ran that company with the
Wow.
National Association of Regional Ballet.
How
So I had some ties to New Jersey. Yeah.
See how nice. I'm up a little bit closer to where Rutgers is, like central. So I'm about 40 minutes outside of the city. And I also, when I danced in the city, I was a modern dancer for a while, and then I had my own dance studio. But my mentor in the company spoke of you all the times. Can you give everybody a little bit of a background about your life and how you got started in dance?
Well, in my neighborhood, everybody's neighborhood has a neighborhood dance school.
Mm-hmm.
And during the time of segregation, we could only go to the black dance school in the neighborhood. And so I really didn't get, I say, classically trained until I got to high school. And I went to the West Philadelphia High School, which at that time was integrated. And my gym teacher had been a member of the Littlefield Ballet, which was Philadelphia's first ballet company.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, you didn't get a degree in dance. You got a degree in physical ed. But after she taught gym, after school, she had a ballet club. And in our dance classes, in the gym classes, she did some sort of ballet, some sort of dance movement. So she invited me to the ballet club, which was quite an honor because it was all white. And so I went, and I had no idea what all the technology was, all the names of the steps. I just didn't know because I hadn't had that kind of training. But, I immediately felt that I wasn't welcome. And I felt that, okay, well, if they can do this, I can do this too. So I was able to stay in the ballet club. But the initial way I learned, one of the girls in the company, she would go to dance school after school. And in the morning before school, we would meet at 7:30, and she would teach me what she learned the night before, so that when they start talking about pas de bourrée and temps levé and all the tours du day, I kind of knew what she meant. So I got a good foundation from outside of this, I say secondhand foundation. So when I got when I was, and I think I was probably in the 11th grade, I heard about this black school. And my mother took me to a school which was at that time the Sidney Marion School. And but I found I knew a whole lot more than they knew. So I started teaching the third hand the kids in the school what I learned from the girl, so that I felt that I had a pretty good foundation. I read everything I could read. I read all the magazines. I looked at everything. Of course, Sid Charisse was my idol, but that's how I really got involved with dance. And so I did, my teacher, she tried to get me classes with the private teachers. So I went to William Center, who was a private teacher, ballet, and he taught me privately because white schools still weren't taking black youngsters. So I did that till I decided I would get married. And then I ended up dancing in nightclubs with one of my friends had a job opening because her daughters were singers at Sister Sledge, We Are Family.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the mother of the girls, she got pregnant again, and they needed someone to take her place, and that's how I got into nightclub dancing.
Oh,
And I was lucky; I was dancing with the Sammy Davis and Sid, I'm trying to think of everybody else that Billy Eckstein, Pearl Bailey, all the nightclub reviews.
wow.
But I still, every place I went when I got an opportunity, I would take a ballet class.
Wow.
But after many years of doing that nightclub glamour girl circuit, I said, let me go back home and I'll open my own school. I'll teach some black girls so that there's an opportunity they'll be prepared. So my school I started in 1963. So in 1970, I said, well, you'll go somewhere I trained you, go.
Mhm, mhm.
And they would bounce back because there were no jobs. And so that's when I said, well, let me start a dance group because somebody was always asking you, can there be a dancer for their party, a dancer for the sorority meet, a dancer for something. And I said, well, if we're going to do this, we should get paid.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how my company, that my dance school was 60 in 1970. I started Philadanco because after sending my dancers to Pennsylvania Ballet where they weren't welcome, I said, okay, let's make our own statement. And that's pretty much how it happened. It just kept growing and rolling. So I tell everybody my school is 63 years, my company is 53 years, and I'm 47.
There you
So
go.
somebody can't add, right?
Yes, yes. I
So
mean,
that's my story.
yeah, that and what a story too. I came to dance late. Like I started taking dance at 13. I didn't have it around me where I was growing up. And so that's late for a dancer.
I think I was in the 10th grade when I
Yeah,
started seriously.
yeah. And so I was always playing catch up and catch up. And like you were saying, reading as much as I could, but that was also my personality. I loved to do that. But when you speak about, segregation and not being welcomed, that's that's so hard to hear. And I say that because when I was then taking dance all those years later, we had that integration. And I know it's still growing. And then when I had my own dance studio, that was really important to me to open my doors to everybody. I had a dance studio for 23 years. I often say it on my podcast when I'm speaking with guests. And I was known in my community because I wanted everybody to feel welcome and to feel like they had a place. And if they didn't have a place somewhere else, they knew they could come to my dance studio. And can we just talk about that for a little bit?
Well, that's so funny because the reason again started Philadanco is because I sent my kids to Philadelphia Ballet, which was that time was Pennsylvania Ballet, and
Mhm.
they bounced back. So they don't like us, they don't correct us, they don't want us in. But here it is, 53 years later. There's no black girls in Philadelphia Ballet.
Yeah.
They haven't had a girl of color, well, not of color, another black girl since Deborah Austin, and that's almost 30 years ago.
Wow, wow.
And I had the executive director tell me, well, we have one in her country. She's considered black. I said, from what's her country? Brazil. I said, you asked her what she is. She said, I'm Brazilian.
Yeah.
She's not going to say she's black. So, I think, and one of my best friends always says the ballet needs to look like America, that we should represent everybody in this country, that it's no longer an all white form. So it's nice to know that there are people like you who welcome people, but even after the training, they can't get a job.
Yeah, yeah. It's true. And it's that was one of my questions I had wanted to ask you too. And you're answering it without my even asking it first is what are the changes you have seen? and what are the changes you still want to see? You know, we've come far, but obviously not far enough.
But I think with training,
Hmm.
there are more opportunities for dancers to go to other schools and also to have access in college
Yeah.
where you can major in dance, which wasn't likely years ago. But even after you have the training, they don't prepare you for a career in dance.
Yes.
You know, I tell my dancers when they audition for me, you got an A, but you still can't dance,
Yeah.
you know, because the objection of a degree is different than a career in dance.
Yeah.
So it really makes it difficult. We had auditions 3 weeks ago. I had 70 people show up for an audition. And I can only hire one girl. So there's 69 people with no jobs.
No job.
So, you know, they go from place to place looking for a job.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a ballet dancer, there's only going to be one. Sometimes my granddaughter's a diver, and she's diving this week in a competition. At 12 colleges, she's the only black girl in the competition, and that's crazy. Is it access or is it money?
Yeah.
That everything that we are not all qualified.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
but even so, I'll tell my girls when they go to an audition, there are going to be 500 white girls, and they're looking for one black girl. You have to be the very best
Yeah.
because the white girls are looking for jobs too. And then, it's not just, there are not that many jobs across the board.
Yeah.
So it's really I won't say dog eat dog because everybody wants to dance and just
Sure.
have an opportunity to use the gifts that they're given. But the opportunities, the access isn't there.
And when I have more of these conversations, it's always, it's very enlightening to hear that and to learn that. And that's why I like having these conversations so people can learn and be educated. It starts with having the conversation, I think, and really becoming really aware. You can talk about it and not do anything about it. But I think the more you talk about it, the more compassion you might have and the empathy and the understanding. And I think then that starts to open up those doors. At least that's been my experience uh, with that.
Well, I think modern dance has been more open
Yes.
than classical ballet. But I say now they need to start giving the grants for reverse diversity because most of the black companies are integrated, you know,
Yes.
but we don't get money to open our doors and welcome people who aren't black.
Right.
And but the ballet companies get zillions of dollars to hire one black person or to put in their advertisement that we got one, you know. And it's not basically true. It's just, and when the money goes, the diversity goes on that side of the field. Whereas with us, it's everybody's welcome in our company and in our schools.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is really I think that's the way it should be. I mean, I think that's the beauty of the basis of dance. I know for me, I was so drawn to dance just because it's so soul reaching. It reaches into something inside of you and you can create and express that no matter who you are. And I think
Right. I said, people say, why do I love dance? I said, I fall in love with dance.
yes.
The challenge of
Mhm.
making your body speak, the
Mhm.
challenge of feeling what you say, that it comes from the inside out, and that I think just having the opportunity to express yourself without saying anything, but letting your body do the talking.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And even when I pick choreographers, I want to say, what are you saying? What is it all about? What do you mean? What are you saying? Everybody can get the leg up high. Everybody can turn. What makes it different? What makes it something you want to see and enjoy,
Yeah, I like that you say that too. And I read somewhere, or I heard it maybe on the interview you were doing, and it was talking about coaching, and instead of different, instead of saying like you're just talking about now, turn out this way, or lift your leg higher, or do this, but really getting into the essence of the dancer. And I was having a conversation the other day with a dancer and a choreographer, and they were talking about how they felt that kind of coaching is missing. And I was surprised to hear it because I wasn't exposed to that. I wasn't in that kind of room to see that. And they were telling me that the coaching that's going on, that they're witnessing and seeing, is just about that. And so dancers are getting frustrated because
Right.
they're not.
I say, like if I walk into a rehearsal, I
Mhm.
say I come into a rehearsal like an audience member.
Yes, yes.
I don't care how high your leg goes.
Mhm.
I don't care, again, if you do a split. But what are you saying to me as a member of the audience that makes me enjoy what you're doing and be, even though I'm aware of your capabilities, how are you using them? You know? So it is, we do a lot of coaching.
Yeah.
It's real important. And sometimes they resent it.
Mhm.
And now where you can't touch them, you can't tell them what to wear, you can't tell them what to do because of all the regulations.
Mhm.
It's very difficult sometimes to pull it out of them
Yeah.
because they feel as if they're giving it to you and they're not giving you anything
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
a high leg with a hip up,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Let's talk about ballet, because I know when I was reading how you fell in love with ballet. What was it?
Exactly.
Yeah, what was it about ballet for you that?
Well, I think walking into a space where you felt you weren't welcome or that you felt that somebody thought you weren't capable or couldn't do it, to try to prove that you could, and being satisfied with the fact that you did, and then the challenge, then having gone to a predominantly Black school, that when dancing with people who felt the way I felt and we all had the same objectives, and the people, then I started teaching people like Billy Wilson. I taught. He went to Ballet de Monte Carlo. He was ready, you know. And so there's so many people, Betsy Ann Dickerson, who went to the Rockettes and ended up being in the ballet company with the Rockettes. So there were so many people, Leslie Odom was one of my kids. Lee Daniels was, Lee Daniels didn't even become a dancer, but it's something that you get within your spirit and soul from dance that is really a special treat, I think, in life, because all the things you learn from dance are life lessons.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have that conversation often, on the podcast and off the podcast, that there's just something about dance that goes beyond, like you're saying, it goes beyond being a dancer, it goes beyond performing. It's teaching you life lessons. I think, and I don't know how you feel about this, I think dancers are very adaptable. I think we've
Right.
learned to multitask, to be adaptable, and to just change on a dime if something comes our way. And those are life skills, right?
And also the fact you can retain 15 ballets in your head, you know, without even thinking about it. Once the music
Once the
starts,
music starts, yeah,
muscle memory is like amazing, right?
amazing. Yes. And
Right.
are you still taking ballet class? No. In here though, you are.
Well, no, I can still teach a class.
Yes, amen.
I'm not dancing.
Yes.
No, 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 no. My body says, girl, you had enough.
It's, when that decision comes to say I can't do that anymore, is that a hard one to?
Well, actually, your body tells you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your body tells you,
Yeah.
okay. Even like, well, I'm 92.
Mhm.
So I used to go up and down the steps 50 times a day in
Mhm.
my building. So I think I do 47 now. Without saying that, I got to go to the third floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
When are we going to get an elevator?
Yeah.
But before I used to go run up the steps.
Mhm.
So your body
Yeah.
talks to you. If if you hadn't had hip replacement or knee replacement
Mhm.
from bad training,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think I've ever felt I'm not able, but I know that I can't. I
Yeah,
just can't.
yeah, yeah.
My
I
dancers have to do 4 ballets in one night. They got to
a
be
lot.
ready.
Yeah, that's a lot on the body. I have to tell you, you're my mom's age. And I love that because you're young like my mom is. My mom doesn't seem her 92 years either. She's active, like she knows her limitations as well, but her brain is there. She takes her yoga, she walks, she's very active, and so she never seems her age like you.
Right.
She really doesn't either. And
Well, I said I can't see myself at the senior citizens home playing bingo with the old ladies.
that's
And I'm not going to do that. No,
that's
I
my
have to
mom.
keep moving and do something. And
Yeah,
I make a lot of people mad every day because I still tell them when they're not right. And that, even everybody that works for me, don't you have to know the job? I don't care what your job is.
yeah, yeah,
If you're not a dancer, what it is that you're responsible for,
yeah.
you have to know the job.
Yeah. Yes, I like that too, and I like the listeners to hear that is the responsibility that a job entails and knowing the job. I think that's
Right.
so important, really, really important. Um, can we talk about also your connection with Howard University? Are you still connected with Howard University? What were you doing with Howard University? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I started an organization called International Association of Blacks in Dance.
Hmm.
And I was talking with Al Freeman, who was head of the theater department, that we needed a place to archive the IABD papers.
Hmm.
And also, he introduced me to the woman who had the dance program there, and she became a member of the association. And so I would go for 3 years. I went once a week to Howard and taught. So they called me a visiting professor.
I see.
And I was talking to one of my girls in my class the other day. That almost all the girls that I taught end up having a career in dance, and most of them weren't taking ballet, and that's what I went down to teach ballet for. Two of my former teachers here at Philadanco are on faculty at Howard. I'm no longer there. I think I'm still listed as something, but I'm no longer making that trek back and
Yeah,
forth.
that's
But the Association of the International Association of Blacks in Dance, the former executive director is now the dean of admissions at Howard. So I still have that connection in the dance department. I think they are finally getting a new dance studio. I got them one back probably in 2019. We got a studio that didn't have a leak in the ceiling.
cool.
So I think they're getting the Chadwick Center for the Arts,
Oh,
and he
good.
said they're getting a new dance studio.
Very nice.
So, but I did the same. I do the same thing here in Philadelphia. I teach at Drexel Arts Administration. I try to make sure that what I do know that people can benefit from
Mhm.
it. And IBD is now 36 years.
Wow.
And I started it with $5,000 for a grant, and the budget is almost $5 million now.
Wow.
We service over 35 companies across the country. This recent conference was in Memphis. Over 1,000 students
Wow.
participate, and it's more so than the college program that they have every year, where they get together and all the colleges show off. We try to do more with the history of dance and
Mm,
have them meet some of the people that are creating dance.
yeah.
So it's really a lot going on
Yeah.
in dance.
Yes, there really is. And that's exciting. And so you're teaching arts administration. Is that what you said?
I have at
You,
Drexel
you
University,
have.
right?
Yeah. And
Mhm.
that's another thing too, because like you were saying at the beginning of our conversation, and I remember too, where there weren't a lot of dance degrees around. There weren't. When I was
Exactly.
going to college, it was not a lot, and it was modern. Like modern was becoming more of the dance degree to have. And arts administration is also new to the scene. pretty new to the scene,
Right, right.
and so that's so important because that's a whole other set of skills to learn.
Exactly.
Yes, and I know when I learned from hands on when having my dance studio what that was like, and I had somebody, one of my teachers, when I first had my dance studio, she was attending Seton Hall to get a degree. I think her master's in arts administration. It was a new degree, and she did a study on the budget of my studio so that she had to do like a paper
Okay.
about budgets and
Prepare
all that
budget,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, so it's and I point that out for the listeners too, that that's another avenue for dance careers too. It's such an important part of the dance
Well,
world.
there are lots of opportunities
Mhm.
outside of performing.
Right.
You know, one of my assistants, she has 3 degrees, 3 masters.
Wow.
So she's talking about, well, I want to do. I said, but you still don't know how to read a financial statement.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah,
with 3 degrees, and you haven't learned the things that make important to have a dance company.
yeah,
It's not. It's more than putting somebody on the stage.
yeah.
And then you have to see dance. You have to get out and be in the world. And everybody is not doing good choreography. Everybody that has a company, it doesn't mean it's a good thing, a place to be. So you have to be totally involved.
Yeah.
And now that I've gotten older, I don't want to jump on a train or a plane to go see something. But so the other person that I hired has to be willing to be that involved.
I want to talk about that a little bit. The like what you think is good choreography. What do you look for that? Because I have my own opinions. So,
Well, I don't say what's good, but
yeah,
let's say what do I like?
right. Okay.
You know, everybody has their taste.
Mhm.
I don't want my dancers to be singularly focused.
Mhm.
The joke is if somebody asks you, can you do an eyelash stand? Say
Mhm.
yes. And if you can't, then you learn before tomorrow
Yes.
so that you're capable of doing whatever is required of you as a dancer. Nobody can say, I only do ballet.
Yeah.
Or, I'm a modern dancer.
Mhm.
There's no such thing anymore. You have to
Anymore.
be able to do it all because all the choreography is the integration of the styles and
Yeah.
movement. And even when I remember when hip hop first came out and the kids were dancing on the corners and they talked about was nothing, what are they doing? And now hip hop is forefront. The
Yeah.
colleges have hip hop,
Yeah.
contemporary fit dance. Well, what's contemporary? But the dance that you need to do to go to Broadway,
Yeah.
Or if you're going to be a backup dancer for Mariah Carey,
Mhm.
it's different from, what your regular training is. You got to be prepared to do it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have a style of choreography. I like something that, again, as I feel like I'm an audience member
Mhm.
and I want to say, is this something I enjoy?
Mhm.
Is it beautiful? Is it well done?
Yeah.
Is it well rehearsed? Is it worth my money? And is it something, again, it's a matter of personal taste.
Mhm.
What your company, I see people running around with, no music and just breathing. I'm like, well, for me, I don't like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do more than breathe.
Yeah.
you know, well, even when we're dancing, I say, I don't want to hear you breathe.
Are you breathing? Yeah.
So there's some people that just breathe and nothing else.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of personal taste.
Mhm.
I like to feel that uh, not only are the dancers working at their fullest capability, but that making the audiences enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. The audience is so important. So that connection, there's something about, you can rehearse without an audience there. You can be in the studio rehearsing, but then there's that moment, there's that audience live there, and you're there, and that connection happens, and then I think life gets they converge. I think that's been my experience, and I just love that about live performance. I really do.
Well, last week when we were at the Joyce, the choreographer came in and he taught a boy a solo. So he says, JV, come watch the solo. And I start fussing at the dancer. I said, Your head doesn't belong to the rest of your body. When you walk out, are you apologizing? Or are you saying, here I come, get ready? You know? And so he got to write up in the paper. He says, I used all the stuff you told me. And, I really felt good and I got a good review. I'm like, so I told you something you needed to know, right?
That's great.
So
Yeah.
it's more than just walking on the stage and doing the steps.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. It really is. Can we talk about, so in 2012, listeners, you were awarded the National Medal of Arts from President Obama. Um, can you talk about that? What was that like
Well,
to?
actually, I got it in 13, but it's
Oh, okay.
always a year behind.
Oh, okay, because you.
So they look at what you did, at what we did in 12,
Oh,
and
okay.
give you the award in
Got it.
13. So my company was on the way to Chile
Huh?
to perform, and I got the call that I needed to be in Washington. I said, I can't be in Washington. We're on our way to Chile. She says, well, no, you need to be in Washington. You needed the White House. I said, for what? They said, President Obama's going to give you an award. I'm like, oh, yeah? And I started thinking, me, older Black woman, in my lifetime, I'll probably never see another Black president. And so I told the kids, I said, I'll meet you all in Chile. I have to go to Washington. But the funny thing is, my daughter and her husband and my oldest daughter went, and they're in the bathroom taking pictures in the White House bathroom. Look at us, we're in the White House. And I'm out front trying to get an award. It was so funny. I'm like, how are you taking pictures in the bathroom?
That is funny. Yeah.
But the fact that they were in the White House.
Yes. Yes. And just the fact, what was that like? First of all, who calls you to say that you have to be at the White House?
Well, I think it was somebody from the National Endowment for the Arts
Uh-huh.
called me on behalf of the committee.
Yeah.
And it was, just again, I think the thing that was most important that here was America's first Black president.
Yeah.
And what he said to me is, I read your book. I said, I didn't write it. He said, but I read it, and I'm like, okay, thanks. Someone wrote a book about me. I didn't write the book myself. But he, of course, he thought worthy of his. Then last year we got a National Endowment for the Arts, National Medal of the Arts for the organization, International Association of Blacks in Dance.
Wow.
The first thing I said to one of my friends, anybody else get two?
There you go.
I think I'm the only one that got two.
See?
Not that I purposely got it myself, but the organization got
Sure.
one.
That's
But it was
amazing.
when I started, so I got two.
Yes,
So
that's
it's quite not an accomplishment. It's quite a recognition.
yeah,
Quite a recognition.
yeah. And when you're receiving it, and it was at Kennedy Center, right? Isn't that when you're at Kennedy
It was
Center?
at the White House.
Oh, at the White House. That's what you said. That's
Right.
right. Because your kids are in the bathroom. Your kids are in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yes. What are you thinking? Like, are you thinking like are you thinking back to that little girl, or do you have those moments where you think back to that little girl living in segregated America, and here you are now being recognized?
But I very seldom I think that. I think that things haven't changed enough.
Mm,
When okay, this is nice, but what has changed? What
okay.
how many little Black girls still can't get a job? Or no, Black women can't get a job
Right.
because they're not hiring Black dancers. Or how many when the funders don't come to the money, the level of funding is so different. Or the people that don't want to be on Black boards. I looked at another company here in Philadelphia where they have 50 board members. I got 10,
Mm.
And the contributions, they make sure that their organization or their business makes major contributions to their organization. And the people on my board, they said, well, I can't pay the requirements. What can I do in lieu of money? So the playing field is still not equal.
Okay.
And then the playing field of dance and compared to other forms is not equal. So until it becomes equal across the board, and this money, the COVID money and the diversity money, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
You can't build a budget on it because next year you can't be sure you're going to get.
Right.
So you have to maintain a low scale budget because in case I don't get that grant next year, I still need to have somebody in my office.
Yeah.
I still need to have the teachers come, or I have to teach class myself because I don't have any money to pay the teacher. Whereas my teacher will tell me, well, you know, at the ballet, when I teach there, they give me X, Y, and Z. I said, but they got a grant.
Yeah.
My school, I got to wait for the mamas to pay me so I can pay you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So, that the playing field is still unequal. And as long as I'm breathing, I keep talking about it, that it has to change. There has to be equality, of course, for dance. Not about color or race, but for dance itself.
So interesting, and because I wasn't aware of that. Like, when you talk about, I when you talk about, a board that is stacked with, 50 some odd people, and then you have a board that do you need to get that?
I'm gonna take it off the hook.
Oh, okay. You have a board that's, you have 10 people, and I'm pointing this out for the people listening too. When they have questions, people don't understand how board works, or how funding works, or how, opportunities work, or how that funnels down into a company or into a school. So I think you're having that conversation, and like you say, as long as you are breathing, putting it out there, because it's so important to keep educating on that. Because I know even when I was having my school, I wasn't nonprofit. I had to, like you said, tuition came in, I had my budget, I decided how I was, paying everybody, how that was working, and you hope for the best for the next year. You really do. Like, so
Exactly.
I understand when you're saying that, and to the outside person who's not inside doing those financial statements, like you're saying, and paying all the bills and the rent and then this and the insurance and the that and everything else, it looks like all this money's coming in. What's happening with all this money? It's going right back out. It's going right.
And then people see, like, fortunately, I got a building in a community that was in transition.
Mm-hmm.
That was a factory.
Mm-hmm.
So, when they come, I say, don't look at the building. The building is not my budget. People charge you a lot of money by the hour to do a job that I used to do myself.
Yeah.
I was my own bookkeeper. I was my own secretary. I was my own teacher. And those things you had to do. And then when the money stops, you just go back to doing what you used to do because you don't have the money to pay the people that want these big salaries.
Yes. It's very true.
That's why I taught my daughter, like, you got to learn how to do this.
Yes, right? It's true, though. And I think it's important for listeners to hear that, to really know that when arts organizations are sending out their funding, or their campaigns, their fundraising campaigns, or whatever they're doing, give just even a little bit. If you can, just every little bit matters and helps. And it's not that, like, oh, here comes another, request for money. Well, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I just saw my insurance bill. I'm like, that's somebody's salary for the year.
Yes. It's
but if somebody gets hurt, you got to have that insurance.
Yes. So it really, it's so important. And because too, the arts in the United States is different from European countries. It's just different. We really
supported by the government. Yeah.
Yes. So we really have, we artists are really out there, like pounding the pavement still to get that funding. So I just like to talk about that, and thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important for people to really understand that, and
and sometimes there are people of color who get top jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask them to be on your board, they say, well, no, I have to be on the opera board. I have to be on the orchestra board because I be with my peers. You know, I said, but you make a difference if you're on my board, where you're just another board member paying you $20,000 a year to sit on somebody's board. That makes no difference. So you can put on your resume that you're on the orchestra board. But if you're on Philadanco's board, you're making a difference in somebody's life. You know, so that's something else I think people in the community need to understand. That, you know, you don't sit on a board just to have it on your resume.
Yeah.
What is your contribution?
Yeah, you really have to work. Like when you're on a board, you have to work. Yeah.
And also make sure that your organization supports the arts because it makes a difference in kids' lives.
Yeah. It really does. It really, and I want to reiterate that again, that it, you know, it makes a difference in kids' lives, and your organization and what you've done your whole entire life has really been to make a difference, you know. And I'm not just saying that. There's organizations, you know, that just go along. I'm not saying right or wrong, but your mission has been to really change lives, you know, and you need the funding in order to do that and to sustain it and to keep it going. And that's why I think you're recognized so often. And even, you know, I was just like always hearing your name and always hearing that, you know. So, and recently, just like days ago, you received a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah, it's 2 days ago, right?
Yes, yes. I was supposed to be there, but I was not feeling well. I had gotten sick. I was away. I'd gotten sick, and I
And it
still,
was crowded, so you wouldn't want to be there and have you weren't feeling well,
yeah.
right?
That's how I thought to myself. You know, I probably should because I didn't want. I still wasn't feeling tip top, and then I thought the same thing. I didn't want to like if there was anything lingering. I didn't want to share it, so I would have gotten to
If
meet.
somebody shared it with me, I told them, thank you for the gift,
Yeah.
but no thank you, right?
Right. So you got a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Martha Hill Gala, and so can you talk about that a little bit? What that was like receiving that award? You
Well, you know, as I was saying, they talked about this as you did. How did I feel getting an award from the president? But I said, but it's really more relevant that your community appreciates what you do and that they are recipients of your work, that it's just not something to hang on the wall,
yeah,
but it makes a difference in someone's life. So I think for me, and I made the joke, I'm not on no more awards if it don't have a check, because I need a check to support my work so that
there
I
you
can
go.
continue to do what I do for the kids that walk in the door,
Yeah,
you know. And when the mama said, I can't pay this week, is it all right and I'll pay you next week? I said, don't worry about it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
to be able to say that and know that I can still pay the rent and keep the lights on
yeah,
because
yeah,
I have some other support.
yeah. That's so important. And I heard that your speech. I look forward to hearing it. I hope somebody recorded it. But I heard from a little birdie that we both know who introduced us that you know she was moved to tears by your speech, and so
But you know what happened that sometimes people don't realize that, as they said, all you got to do is read the program, your biographies in the program. You don't have to tell people all the things you've done. So all you have to do is say, you know, thank you. Thank you for appreciating what I do. And, you know, and let people enjoy the fact that they're there with you and not give those speeches that go on and you're like, oh my God, but please sit down. You know, and we had several of those. So I try to make mine brief and make it a pleasure to be there with me. And I think I had the shortest speech. In fact, when I was taking notes, I started crossing out stuff. I said, well, I'm not going to stay here all night. And they had already said that they didn't want any overtime because they didn't want to pay extra for overtime. So why should I spend the time talking about, well, you know, I did this and I did that? You say thank you.
Yeah. No, beautiful. I think it's wonderful. Is there anything that I have not talked about? Anything that you would like the listeners to hear, or any words of wisdom that you haven't already said that you want to share with everyone?
I think my next step, I'm trying hard to retire, but as I have moved out, I just moved over because trying to find someone who really wants to step into your shoes and be responsible for an organization and do the work, not just someone who wants to have a position. But I changed the title. I don't even say executive director because an executive director needs a secretary, and an executive director needs two assistants, and the executive director wants to work 2 hours at home a week, and then I need somebody in the office every day. So I changed my job description to managing director.
There
So
you
they had to do some work.
go.
So I'm little by little trying to do less myself
Hmm.
so that I can just go to the beach and cross my legs and have a pina colada, a little more often.
Yeah.
So, but preparing someone to step into the responsible job,
Yeah.
but to care and not so much how am I getting paid, you know, last person I interviewed said, "Oh no, 2 weeks vacation is not enough. I have to have three." And the assistant, this is not the job for you
Yeah.
because I come at 9 in the morning, leave 11 at night, not for myself, but for the organization. So
Yeah.
I'm trying hard to be able to hand it over to someone and feel comfortable about it.
Hmm.
That I don't have to come in here to make sure people do their work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a very precarious place to be.
Mhm.
But do you close the doors and walk away? Because you can't. But you just can't leave it hanging in the wind.
Yeah. It's a labor of love, I
Everybody's worried about their paycheck. They don't worry about what does the job mean to someone else.
yes,
But
yes.
what's important about what you do?
When you say that too, and I was trying to move away and step away and have somebody come into my role, and I didn't find that. I'm just relating to what you're saying, that you want to find that person that's going to care about it and bring it to keep it going and bring it even more life and more care, and even do things that you didn't think you could do with it.
Right, especially because electronics has changed the world the way we work.
Yes,
And so
yes,
you have to know not only how to get into fifth position, you have to know how to do all this stuff on the computers.
yes,
My granddaughter is in high school. I have to ask her,
yes,
how do you change that? How do you fix that? Because they grow up with it. And I
yes,
didn't.
yes. Well,
I had a little typewriter.
yeah, yes, the right person's out there. They are. You just keep looking for them, because it's a beautiful organization and so much.
Proud of it. They're in Maryland tonight performing, and they did 2 shows, one this morning, one this evening. And then we come back and try to get ready for our home season. But this is our 24th year at the Kimmel Center as the resident dance company there.
Very
So twice a year we have to do whole new programming.
yeah. Wow.
So
Yep.
it's holding on.
Good.
We're holding on. But I thank you for spending time with me and
Yes.
hope
Thank
someone
you.
will learn something from our lesson. There's always something to learn.
Yes, I think so too, and I thank you for joining me and having this lovely conversation. And
I
it's like,
thank Lisa. She's
yes,
amazing.
she is.
She's amazing. I haven't just met her, and I'm just happy that I
Yes,
met
she's a great lady. Yes, she really is a great lady. And I thank you, Ms. Brown,
her. If there's something you meant to ask me, I'll be here for a few more hours. Just
okay.
text me and I'll answer, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you
You're
for
quite
joining
welcome.
me on Dance Talk with Joan Carey. Follow us, like us, and share, share, share. Thank you, everyone.
Powered by Riverside.